It's the Pick and Winner Show over on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, JSU. Here today with my guy, Stats. Have not been on a football show, I think, with Stats. Stats, what's going on, man? You ready to talk some week 2 ball?
About as ready as I'm going to be. So, yeah, man, it seems like these weekends just come up on us really, really quickly, especially when you got all the stuff that we got going on over at Run Pure. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Love to get some of these bets in.
Yes, definitely. Got to get in on the bets. We're going to talk through all our favorite bets, some props, maybe do a little pick six at the end. We got the DK Sportsbook up here. We'll go through all of these bets over on DK Sportsbook. If you could, before we get into the bets and the winners, hit the like button on the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. We do have the Run Pure Premium package, which gets you all sports, one price, gets you Saber Sim, best opto in the business. If you haven't tried out Saber, you should check it out. And if you don't want all sports, if you're just into football, we have you covered there too. We've got single sport packages for NFL. If you just want the NFL package, we got you covered as well. Get the NFL package, single sport. Check us out. Get in the Discord if you sign up with any package. Make sure you link your account and get in our Discord, one of the best Discords in the industry, and check us out. Stats, you talk a lot about your boom sheet, which you did for baseball, and now you're doing for NFL. And I know everyone loved it for baseball. And I think week 1, it had some pretty good, outcomes for some of the tournament strategy. Just go into that real quick on the boom sheet and week 1 overview.
No, I appreciate it. Look, on the whole, the averages were really good. So if you're unfamiliar with the boom sheet, I'm just breaking it down. We started in the MLB because we wanted to see, which players had the greatest chance of upside. It's basically an upside type of a sheet, right? So these are players that may get you a 0. They may pop for 30 points in MLB, right, with home run potential. And we said, why not add this to our NFL, because everyone was having a lot of success, really enjoyed it. It really helps building your lineups fairly easily and quickly, whether you're doing 150 or just a single build. So we decided to go ahead and give it a shot in the NFL. So I was working on it over the summer. And yeah, week 1 looked pretty good. On the averages, the elite levels, we break them up into quartiles. The elite level and the high level were the highest scorers at each of the positions. So the way I've been doing it for 150 builds is, like, especially at the quarterback position and the running back position, is kind of limiting my field or my player pool to those elite players and the high players, high boom level players that I have them listed, and kind of opening up the wide receivers a little bit more, because I want to get some wide receivers who may not be highly rated if I want to get them in stacks, because you're not going to get 3 wide receivers from one team, or 2 sometimes from one team that are going to be highly rated, maybe just 1. And the tight ends, I kind of limit that as well. So it was successful. Justin Fields and Daniel Jones both were rated fairly well, and you got Justin Fields in the Millie winner. We had the Millie winner here over at Run Pure, which was nice, and just less than 2% ownership, I believe, and he was someone that we had both a high tournament edge on, and that tournament edge number is going to look at what the projected ownership is and kind of relate that to what the boom score is and say, hey, you know what, this guy's kind of low owned for his potential. You may want to have a look at him. So Justin Fields was the highest tournament edge that we had at quarterback position. So look, nothing's going to guarantee you to win $1 million, but what we're trying to do is push you to have just a little bit of an edge over the field, and over time that should be beneficial to you.
Yeah, and the more data you get, the more you can build this thing up, just the better it's going to be, right? So this is just the early stages, but as you get more data and you work into this, it's just going to get better and better. Stats, do you want to give it a little sneak peek for this week before
Sure.
we get into
it? I updated it if you want to show it. Yeah.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick, because what you're talking about with the tournament edge and stuff, get a little sneak peek into exactly what you got going on here. And obviously, I'm not going to give the full thing out, but you can see this is the boom rating right here, and maybe just go into it a little bit at each column. And if you were using it yourself, Stats, how are you starting off looking at this sheet?
Yeah. All right. I'll just go quickly. Like those stats there, they're self-explanatory, 3+ touchdowns. It's just a probability that they're going to get whatever that stat is. And it's different for each position. And of course that's weighted into the model. And then that generates a boom score. And the salary is also priced in there, or I should say factored in there into the boom score. So the lower the salary, it's going to increase their score by a little bit, right? It's not a huge factor, but it is a factor in the model. And when I'm looking at this, so Tournament Edge, as I mentioned before, kind of takes into account what we're projecting the ownership to be, as opposed to in relation to the boom score. And what I like to look for, like I was mentioning, if I'm doing 150 bills, I pretty much take exactly what you're looking at on the screen here. Those green and the blues, that's the elite and the high boom. Those are going to be my quarterbacks in my player field. Now, again, this is going to update. I updated it literally right before we went on the air here. And I'll probably have the last update somewhere around noon on Sunday. Pretty much we've got everything in by that time. So, use this as a guide during the week. And then on Sunday, just make sure you go back and check and make sure things haven't changed, because, projections change. We've got ownership projections change. The betting markets change. So take a look at that. But this would be my player field for me, my player pool. If I was playing 20 lineups, obviously I would shrink this down a little bit more. Maybe you want to play in this, like as of right now, Caleb Williams here is kind of popping as the highest Tournament Edge. Let me just one note on Tournament Edge. Same thing I do in baseball. Right? You're going to get some players with a high Tournament Edge, but they're like really low boom score. I kind of disregard those players, and when I'm doing stacks in MLB, and I'll look for a team that's got like 3, 4, 5 elite level or high boom players, all with a high Tournament Edge. Because sometimes you'll get a team overall has got a pretty good Tournament Edge, but there's mostly moderate type boom players. So that's just the way I do it. It's had success. I'll continue to do it here for NFL. So when looking at this, Caleb Williams, as of right now, shows really well as far as Tournament Edge. He's a high boom. Whatever number here, he's probably 10th or so on the list. Daniel Jones, again, kind of popped last week as well. You got Trevor Lawrence with a decent number, Kyle Murray with a decent boom number. Obviously, overall here, Josh Allen. So just like a lot of things, I mean, you're going to have to. I love to hear what those of our subscribers and in our Discord, I like to see how they utilize the tools. It's the nice thing about, you could create a tool, you have something in mind, and then other people take it and then really expand on it. It's like, the guy who invented the hammer maybe didn't realize all the things that were going to be used, right? But people invented the chainsaw, didn't foresee someone they're like sculpting trees into these beautiful works of art, right? So that's what I hope for when I build these tools, is other people seeing it and then coming up with really good ideas. And that's kind of the nice thing about having the Discord and with Run Pure, is I throw it out there, people expand on it, and then I learn a whole lot, and so do all the members.
Yeah, and that's the thing, always feedback is always the best with these type of tools, because it can always be, enhanced, and stats can learn from how you guys use that stuff. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, though, because when you talk about it, I feel like it's hard for some people to really get a glimpse unless they can like see something as you're like talking about it, unless you've already checked out the boom, which, obviously we're hoping that people who are new subscribers come over, check out the NFL boom rating. Maybe it can help you. And if you have questions on it, feel free to shoot Stats a message. He's in Discord. You can always add him in the Discord. And that's one of the benefits of being in the Discord, is you can add us in the NFL chat. You can shoot us a DM if you have a question. Hey, what's this? Or how do I do this? Or, a Saber Sim question, whatever it is. Like, you can always shoot us a message and ask us. But yeah, I just figured I'd throw that up there. It's always good to give people a little sneak peek. And I love that Caleb Williams rating well on the boom. We'll get to that game, but I do love that there. So, all right, stats. That's enough of the boom. We're going to get into these games, though, and I'm going to pull up DK Sportsbook here, and we'll just roll through them game by game. Was the Thursday night game? How'd the Thursday night game go?
Thursday night game, I didn't have any bets there on the Thursday night game, so I can't, from a betting standpoint, it went pretty fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was in on the under.
bets.
I wrote it up
like
in my 3-max. Yeah, I talked about it on the show yesterday on our Showdown show, and I wrote it up in the 3-max. I try to, even though it's DFS, I try to stay more into the DFS with the 3 max sheet. I do like to put a little, bet that I like in the write up too, just something else. And yeah, the unders have just been killing. And I just felt like the number was too high on a short week for, teams that I thought had good defenses and like to run the football. Like, I just thought it set up really well as an under spot. I didn't understand why the total was so high. And honestly, I almost got backdoored at the end. So I don't want to talk about it too much. But if you watch the game, it felt like it was way under than what the actual ending score was more the way I look at it. Anyway.
I mean, we've played a week and a game, and I feel like, especially these primetime games, have felt like the totals haven't gone the way they were supposed to go. I mean, we had that delay in the Philly game, right, opening night, and it's still unbelievable how that game didn't go over, right? So the Chiefs, that game wound up going over.
What about the Jaguars game? We're going to get to that game, but what about that Jaguars game? That was crazy.
Exactly. So yeah, but even the Chief game, like I said, if I like the over in the Chief game. We were on the show last week. I think all three of us had the over in that game. And did it really feel like an over? I don't know. It didn't, it sort of felt like, I think it felt like an over, but yet the score, like, we barely got there. It's just the way it was. That's gambling. We're betting. We were talking about bad beats in the Discord earlier this morning, and nobody wants to hear your bad beat story, but
well, no one wants to hear it because everyone has one. So everyone's got their own. So they want to tell you theirs, but they don't want to hear anyone else's. It's just like, it's like everything else. It's like, yeah, that's cool. But like, I had this happen to me. And then they just go into their bad beats. So we all have bad beats. We're gamblers. So it happens.
Well, the thing, so what and I don't know if I think this.
Do you remember your first bad beat?
Oh, listen, I'll tell it as quickly as I possibly can. But when I first started betting, the old local bookie used to call them up, and it was it literally was like maybe the first month I was ever betting. I bet a basketball game for $50, and the game went like I had the dog, Miami Heat against the Jersey Nets. I had the dog plus like 3.5 points, whatever it was. Winning at the end of regulation, winning at the end of first overtime, winning at the end of second overtime, lose on an Armin Gillian 3 to make they win by 4, and I lose that bet. I wound up taking that $50 loss, betting the next day. By the time Friday rolls around, I'm now betting hockey, which I had never bet, for like $200 a game, trying to get I'm down like $600. I'm like, I'm going to play 3 hockey games, bet all 3 for 200, lose all 3. Now go into the NFL weekend of Saturday.
This is how the stories go, too.
It just rolled. It just rolled from there. I started with a $50 bet because I was bored, to now I'm betting $1,000 to get out of the hole on Saturday. And long story short, I lose on Saturday as well. There was of course, bad.
You have the true gambling story. That's like the true how you get hooked gambling story right there. It's
either how you get hooked or how you never go back to betting again.
That's true.
That's true. And you really, I don't know anyone who's done this for any extended period of time, especially in the days when you had a credit at the book, and you didn't have to actually post any cash into your account. Back in those days, you were a lot more susceptible to, hey, I'm just going to double. If I just double the bet, I got to win one of these eventually. And unfortunately, for me, it was good because I learned that lesson really early on about bankroll management. And in at the time, it was debilitating. It was like a 5,000. I think I wound up losing $5,000 for the week. Yeah. And no one wants to lose. I don't want to lose.
That'll teach you real quick. That'll teach you real quick.
It taught me a lesson rather quickly of how you could turn something that was fun. I was bored. I'm going to bet a Tuesday night game because I could watch it in New York, into now I'm sweating profusely betting $1,500, $2,000 on a NFL game. The bet. Yeah. I'll give you the quick part of that story though. Was a Friday night. I go out. I'm in the hole. I'm watching all the Friday night. I'm watching the hockey games. All lose. And so now you're drinking a little bit. I'm with my buddies, and I go. There's 2 Saturday NFL games. One was the first game was Washington and the Giants, and they're all Giant fans. And I go. So now they're hyping me up. I'm like, I love the Giants tomorrow in this game, whatever the line was. I'm like, I love the Giants. They're at home, Washington. And I said, you know what? After the depression settles, gets put aside, I go, you know what? I'm getting out of the hole tomorrow, 1,500, whatever it was, on the Giants. Well, I get hammered the night before. I don't wake up. You remember when you were like 20, 21, 22, whatever it was, like you could I don't know about you now, but I can't sleep past like 7 o'clock no matter how much.
Dude, I don't sleep. If I sleep past 7 o'clock,
Yeah.
my wife's thinking that I'm like need to go to the hospital.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
I never.
It doesn't matter. Now when I drink, I'm actually up earlier because I can't sleep as well. But back then it was like, man, I was out till 4 a.m. I wake up at like 12:10. The game, I frantically get to the phone. It's a 12 o'clock start or 12:05 start, whatever it was, 5 minutes late, and I can't get the bet in. And the Giants proceed to roll by like 30. So they win by like 30 something points. And then of course I lose the second game. So that's
how it works.
And with that, let's give some winners this week after the biggest loser from 30 years ago, whatever it was that I
made. There you go. The way Stats got into the gambling industry right there, all the lessons he learned in one weekend. All right, let's roll through these games here. Stats: Bills, Jets, first game up on the slate, 1 o'clock, 46.5 total on DK Sportsbook right now. Jets at home, underdogs. Jets also one of the more, I think, surprising teams from week one. If we're just looking at week one, I think people were surprised with at least the outcome, the offense, right, against Pittsburgh, who people saw as a good defense. I don't know how much you want to take from that game. There was a lot of other, factor, like Justin Fields going back to his old team, Aaron Rodgers playing his old team. But one thing I took away, Stats, was the Jets' offensive line might be really good. I mean, the kid they drafted, Membu, was stonewalling TJ Watt, which if you're doing that to TJ Watt, that's impressive. I mean, like first game out there and you're doing that to one of the best defense players in the league. That opened my eyes a little bit. So we'll see. And then the Bills, I just saw Ed Oliver, defensive tackle for the Bills. He's going to be out for this game. So that's a pretty big loss on the D line for the Bills. What are you thinking here, Jets and Bills?
Yeah, I would agree. I think this game was surprising. The game last week, that Jet game, was surprising probably on all ends, right? I mean, I think Pittsburgh was a surprise that they put up as many points as they did. The Jets were a surprise that they put up as many. Both teams were a surprise that they gave up as many points. So
everything was a surprise.
The entire game was a surprise. Yeah, entire game was a surprise. The only part I wasn't shocked with, I just wasn't shocked that Fields had a good game. Because he's had those moments before. Now the question is this going to be the Fields that we see all year and the Fields that they were expecting to see in Chicago? I mean, hey, for your sake, I know, and for Jet fans' sake, hopefully that's the case. But you're right. Listen, he's going to have another. But we're talking that offensive line. They've got another pretty big task now. This defense gave up 40 points or whatever it was last week, but you got another pretty good defensive end that you're going to have to block here with the for the Bills. So I like the Jets this week personally, plus the points. One of my bets this week, I'm going to take the Jets plus the points. Would love to have that game at 7. Don't think it's going to get there though. However, so right now we're looking at 6.5 here on DraftKings. That's about the best line. 6.5 minus 105. I think it's one of the best lines you're going to get in the market right now on the Jets. So I like the Jets plus the points. I like, the over seems to me to be, I don't necessarily love the total, but I think the over, when you see two teams who both put up a lot of points and both gave up a lot of points last week, it is 46.5 totals, not crazy high, considering the amount of, both of those games scored over 60 plus points last week. So I'm having a hard time. I typically will look at this and say, you know what, I think they're kind of pushing you towards the under. So I would lean towards the under, but maybe the market's just not sold yet on the fact that this Jet offense may be better than we think.
I think it's that Stats, because, and on top of it, like we saw unders hit, I'm pretty sure a lot in week one. So maybe there's a little of that, but you get Josh Allen. If you ever see a game where Josh Allen is in a trailing script, he is going to nuke. Okay. He is going to nuke. Just bet the game over live because he's going to find, he always does it, stats. When you put him in a hole, we see monster fantasy games. We see totals fly over. So if the Jets somehow come out here and get Josh Allen down early, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but if they did, this total is going to go over by like 15 points. And that's what you saw in the Baltimore game. Now, obviously, that's the Ravens. This is the Jets. So yeah, we're talking about a big difference here. But I do like the Jets. The line was 7 on DK, I think, earlier this week. So now, of course, you don't get that. You get the 6.5, and it's probably the best you're going to get. I think it's going to stay probably around here too. But I do kind of lean the over. I think that Justin Fields in the dual threat with that offense, I think they're going to be able to move the football on the Bills a little bit. And if they can score and push Josh Allen in the Bills offense, that's when you just get those big games. So I think if you love the Bills here, you like the under. And if you like the Jets to cover or you like them to win, then you should like the over. That's at least how I see it personally.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. I actually don't think you're wrong there, but it's actually contrary to what we typically do on a fairly large, it's a touchdown spread. Sure. Typically, if you like the dog, usually the game's going to go under on these type of things, and vice versa. So, but I don't disagree with your analysis there. Obviously, nothing's absolute, but it is
in my head. I'm like, if they get ahead of Buffalo, okay, that's when Allen puts his foot on the gas, and then the total goes. That's the way I'm thinking in my head with this game. But you're right. Normally, it would be an under spot in those situations, but I got it flipped. Maybe it's my dyslexia stats. I don't know, but I'm going that way. I'm taking the Jets in the over here. I'll go both those sides. So, all right. Anything else? Any props you see, or should we move to the next one?
No, the props. I'll have a whole. I'll go through all my props in the betting channel.
Okay.
That's a process. Let's put it down. There's a lot to go through for the props. So.
Oh, and DB did ask this. You had an article last year or something like that.
Yeah.
For Survivor.
So I do a Survivor article. I do it for, there's a site, Survivor Sweats, and it was the same article I posted. I used to post it on RPS and Survivor Sweats. But if you just go to their site, the article is there. I also have a video because I have the Sharp app, which I am a partner in, which kind of helps with sports betting. And it's got a bunch of tools there for sports bettors. On their YouTube channel as well, I have a Survivor video, which has been crazily being one of the more popular Survivor videos out there. So, yeah, check it out. And then feel free to ask me any questions.
There you go, Survivor Sweat DB. Check it out. Check the article out. All right, let's go to the other New York team here. New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. 4.5 point spread. 44.5 total here. Stats, Cowboys coming off of, in my opinion, I'd say almost an impressive loss, an unfortunate loss. They kind of should have won the game. So that's the way I look at it. I don't take much from it other than like CD was awesome, but had some unfortunate drops, and the ball just didn't bounce their way. Miles Sanders got ran down by a linebacker. There was a fumble. There was a lot of things that the Cowboys did that could have, one or two plays go the opposite way, and they're winning that game. They're not losing that game. So now they get the Giants, who offensively look terrible against Washington. I think defensively, the Giants are going to give some teams issues with the pass rush. But the Cowboys offense, man, what do we think of the Cowboys offense after week 1?
Cowboys offense, I think there was coming into the season, I think the Cowboys were just undervalued a bit. And I thought their offense looked pretty good, obviously, against Philly. Like you said, I hate to say should have won the game because you never know what happens, even if they score there late. Lamb makes a couple of bad drops. The third drop was a tough one. You give him a pass on that, but he's just not typical for him. I thought Dak played a great game. I mean, I thought he looked really, really good there. So, yeah, I think that was a good sign for Dow. Like you said, if you can have a positive coming out of a loss, and kind of like the Jets. I mean, the Jets offense looked just far better. I think a lot of people in their minds are like, you come out of that Jet game feeling good, as if you're not a Jet fan, about maybe the Jets prospect. I think the same thing with Dallas. All of a sudden now the expectations for Dallas have increased. With that said, you look at, and then the Giants could not have played. They couldn't have played worse. I mean, the offense looked terrible.
The Giants stats. Listen to this stat. So, they gave up the highest pressure rate with the amount of snaps of teams rushing 4 all week, and it was like 45%. So in non-blitz snaps, they gave up the highest pressure rate at 45% of the non-blitz snaps of any team in week 1. That to me is a crazy stat, but honestly, it's just if you're giving up pressure when they're just sending 4, you're going to be in trouble a lot of weeks.
This is I think I just had this whole I made a whole comment about this on Tuesday with the show that I do with Wiley. I mean, to me, it's easy in theory if you are a GM, president, or wherever an NFL team. Obviously, the hard part's finding the actual talent, but your goal is obviously to find a quarterback. After that, and as a Jet fan, that's not very easy to do. But after that, it's, can I get guys these guys are easier, at least I think, to scout. Can you get to the quarterback? Can you protect the quarterback? And that's the Giants won 2 Super Bowls by being able to get to the quarterback with 4-man rush against the greatest quarterback of all time.
That's how they beat Brady.
That's how you beat them, right? I mean, I don't want to take away from Eli and all that, but their offense didn't win those games. The defense did. So if you can get to the quarterback, or you cannot protect your quarterback against a 4-man rush, you are in a world of hurt, especially with a quarterback who's not necessarily mobile. And, Wilson is not the Wilson of 15 years ago. So, or whatever it was, maybe he's been a little less than 15 years. So he's not that same guy. He's not the Super Bowl winning quarterback, hasn't been for quite some time now. But with all that said, you look at the market here, this line has come down and down to, down 4.5 at, like you have it here at DraftKings. I think coming off of those games last week, this is going to be a very unpopular pick. I like to look at, when you're handicapping games and you're betting games, it's you're really playing against the market. And a lot of times I don't necessarily want to be contrarian, but you kind of have to look at where maybe the market is overreacting or underreacting. So I think the market is going to come in here. The average Joe public is going to come in, obviously, like in the Dallas Cowboys. Yet when I see the line go contrary to that, and the line has come down off of where it was, that tells me that there's a lot of sharp money coming in on the Giants. And when I run my numbers, I don't like it, but the Giants show up as one of the best plays of the week. Now, the caveat there is the Giants were one of my favorite plays last week too. So take it with a grain of salt. But I think a lot of sharp money is going to be coming in here, or has already come in on the Giants. I like the Giants as well, just on my numbers. My brain tells me, though, it's a terrible bet. I try not to listen to my brain. I just try to go with what my model has.
Yeah, honestly, coming into the year, I thought teams like the Giants would actually be a team that would give Dallas some issues. A team with a front seven that, is tough, and they've got so many different pass rushers that can get home and get there and give them issues against, honestly, a Cowboys team that I thought would be very one-dimensional. I didn't think their running game would be that good. Now, obviously, they honestly, it wasn't that good. Javonte got 1-yard touchdowns. Miles Sanders had that one, breakaway run where he got caught by a linebacker, but it still, to me, didn't look amazing. They just kind of fed Javonte. That's more of a fantasy thing, but I don't think they're going to be overall successful running the football. So I think it's going to be a lot of Dak Prescott. Can Dak Prescott get the job done? In a lot of these games, it's going to be heavyweight on his shoulders. And I think he could, but I get your pick with the Giants. Honestly, coming into the week, I thought I would be on the Giants. I'm going to go with the Cowboys, but you're probably on the sharp side of this. I'm on the square side, especially with the Cowboys, because they're the most popular team or one of the most popular franchises in all of football. So when you see this line go contrary to where the most people are probably betting, that's probably the right way to go.
Yeah, look, I don't like to out myself as a Cowboy fan, but I'll go ahead and do it because it's like,
wait, you're not a New York fan?
I am not a
You're
New
not
York fan.
Giants or Jets
Listen,
fan?
growing up in New York, it's of all the sports, it's very few people who don't root for either Yankees or Mets. The Knicks, the Nets maybe now that they've moved from into Brooklyn, but in football, it's always kind of, there's a lot of, at least certainly in my age, a lot of Cowboy fans who were fans. I was fans in the 80s, and then of course they picked up all those fans in the 90s. Same thing now. I assume you probably got a lot of New England fans in the last 20 years around there. But the guys growing up, there were Miami, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Raiders, and the two New York teams. So there's a ton of Dallas fans in New York.
I didn't know that. That's interesting right there. I just assumed everyone chose a side. Like, you're either a Giants or a Jets fan. You're either a Yankees or a Mets fan. Like, just choose a side.
It's the one sport. It's I really, look, New York fans, Northeast fans in particular are pretty passionate, but yeah, it's an odd thing with football. I think because football is more of a national sport, it's easier to have a rooting interest. Nowadays, of course, I can watch every baseball game, every NBA game, but back when we were growing up, you really only had your local teams, but the NFL was more national. I could watch games of other teams a lot easier than you could watching your local hockey, basketball, MLB team.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I don't know who this guy is, but Winners from John and John gotta be the name of the show whenever you guys are on. I mean, the John and John show could work. We got to fix it a little bit. I mean, it doesn't ring.
There's a big company in J&J.
Yeah, there you go.
Johnson. Matter of fact, they've got they have some interest in the Jets. Isn't that Woody Johnson, the Johnson & Johnson?
Oh, you might be right. You might be right.
Yeah.
So, all right, maybe there. DB, are you kidding me? Big T showing love to JSU when he isn't on. JSU could learn something. What are you talking about? I always show Big T love. I always show him love. It's only when he calls me Johnny that he gets no love. That's the only time. Other than that, Big T's my guy, and he knows it.
I'm fine with Johnny. They could call me Johnny, which is fine because I'm either, depends on which side of the family I'm Johnny and I'm Johnny Boy with on my mom's side. So I'm fine.
My old boss used to call me John Boy. Some people call, like, the older people in my life call me Johnny, and the people my age or younger all call me John. So that's kind of what I get. All my older brothers and their friends call me Johnny, and all my friends or my younger brother's friends or him call me John. Pretty much how it rolls there.
It's funny seeing my cousin's kids call me Uncle Johnny Boy. It's kind of
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Johnny Boy. I do like it. My boss used to call me John Boy. That's only him though. No one really else called me John Boy. All right, let's go to the Cleveland game here. Cleveland, Baltimore. We touched on this before we hopped on about Survivor, and I don't know if you want to get too far into Survivor. You don't have to. You can check out the Survivor Sweats article or your show that you did on the Sharp app. You can check that out there for stats and Survivor stuff. But I know you like the Ravens. They're 11.5-point favorites at home against the Browns, and it's a 45.5 total. Ravens coming off of a tough loss, man. Another game where I know you don't like to say a team shouldn't or should have won or whatever, but man, did they have that game, and it looked like they had it in control. But I will say, stats, this is the one thing it always tilted me with, like, the Chiefs, and when teams would go play the Chiefs, it felt like even teams that were close to them and would get leads, it felt like they'd always take their foot off, or they wouldn't be super aggressive or stay super aggressive. And against the elite teams, you don't have to do it against everyone. Like, if you're playing Jacksonville, I get it. You can play more safe, not as aggressive type of football if you're a good team, and probably still win the game. But when you go and play the Bills in Buffalo, or when you go play the Chiefs in Arrowhead, or these top tier teams, when you go play Brady when he was with the Patriots or the Bucs, like, you cannot take your foot off the gas for 1 second. You need to go win the game. Like, you can't just be like, we'll punt them the football back. We'll give the best quarterbacks in the league a chance to just go down and win the game. It always tilted me watching it with Brady. I'd be like, you are so dumb if you are just going to punt that ball to him with 2 minutes left, because he's going to win. He's going to win 90% of the time, and you're going to lose 90% of the time. That's how it's going to go. And I just felt like the Ravens did the thing. They took their foot off the gas, and they ended up losing to Josh Allen, the MVP.
That's obviously a great example of on the bad side, because there was no doubt they should have gone for that first. I believe I one of these X accounts that tracks it from a from a win equity standpoint. I believe he gave away 10% win equity by punting in that situation. So yeah, undoubtedly, and I don't think you need to be a mathematician to see that. You have to, because you're going to pick up those yards. Getting those yards back is so easy because of the way you're going to play, plus the fact that you haven't stopped them the entire game, certainly not the second half at all, and your offense was rolling. Matter of fact, I said it in a group chat with my buddies as Baltimore got that ball back. I said I would not change my offense. I would not go into run the ball timeouts at all. I would play my offense the way I'm playing it. They ran that end around, if you recall, and it was just, that call itself was a terrible call because you're putting the ball carrier in such a predicament that he can't run out of bounds. So he doesn't have that option. So the defense now has an added advantage of knowing he doesn't want to go out of bounds. And it makes it a whole lot harder for him to make any sort of move when he goes around. So I just hated the whole
defense. That way.
He's going out of bounds.
That way, stats. He's literally
it's a terrible. I get it. You want to run clock. I get that. But I wouldn't. That's not the call I would want to make.
I got a question though.
Go ahead.
You have Lamar Jackson, one of the best mobile quarterbacks on this earth, right? On this earth, maybe the best mobile quarterback we've ever seen when it comes to dual threat. You know what I mean? I know Mike Vick was amazing too, but like Lamar Jackson, probably the best we've seen. Why not just let him go back? And if it's not an easy check down and it's not there, all he's got to do is just go down or run and go down. That's all he's got to do. He can do it too. And if he gets sacked, the clock still moves. So that's fine too, honestly, if you did get sacked, because the clock's still moving, as opposed to running a play that brings you almost to the out of bounds.
Yeah, no, listen, first down is the key to all of these, right? Because the Bills are probably thinking, hey, they're going to run the ball, try to get us to call time. That's the play action time. That's the time you play action. You will have undoubtedly you're going to have one-on-one coverage down the field, and you go for the home run. I'm not saying you go for you going for a 20-plus yard pass there. You're going, and you have to have trust in Lamar, and I have the utmost trust, and I'm sure Harbaugh does, in Lamar to make the right decision there and say, hey, you've got one-on-one. He's got a step. We're taking it. If not, you're just taking off with the ball. And I think that would have been the right call there. So these fourth down decisions always have to go back. They at least go back to third down, and here it goes back to first.
Did you see the stats?
I did not see that, so that certainly would change things.
Yeah, Lamar said he was cramping that last drive, told Harbaugh not to go for it on fourth. I didn't see that. Okay.
I have not heard that at all. I mean, if that's the case, obviously we'll have to give Harbaugh a pass on that one. But yeah. But you saw the flip side. You know, when you were mentioning this, the other side of it was you must have loved what the Chargers did in their game against the Chiefs. You said
loved
it again. You know, that's Mahomes, right? You're playing against Mahomes, and I said, here's a team that went into, I think they were 28th as far as runs to pass last year, ratio, whatever it was. They might have even been the number one team if you look at it that way. And then they came out with a totally different game plan, and they did not at the end of the game, they didn't just revert back to what they were. Hey, we're going to just pound it here 3 times, give Mahomes the ball. No, we've got a pretty good quarterback here. Let's go for the kill. The other game I remember from years ago, and I just saw a clip of this like on TikTok, someone went back and posted. Remember, it was one of the first times when like this whole going for fourth down wasn't a thing yet. It was the when Belichick went for it against Peyton Manning. Remember that one? It was like on his own 40. They don't get they complete the pass. It's close. They don't make it. And then Peyton Manning goes down, scores, and wins the game. And everyone, of course, was critical of Belichick there. To me, it's the same scenario. Like now people would be less critical. There's still plenty of people, especially the old school, who don't like going for these fourth downs. But yeah, you just don't give the quarterbacks of this quality the chance to drive the ball down the field. I mean, there were several games like that this weekend. The Denver game had a few situations of fourth down plays. They gave the ball back to him. I'm like, the argument's always, well, they're not moving the ball. Let's just punt it back to them. And I'm like, they're going to get that 30, 40 yards in a blink because you're going to play soft and allow them to get that 30, 40 yards in like 25 seconds. So what's the point? Let's go for the win, right? If we get the first down, we win the game. If we don't, we still have a chance to stop them. Whatever. We've gone off on a tangent, but yes.
That's the point, though. You still have a chance to stop them if you don't get it. I get it. They're a little closer, but like you have a chance to ice the game if you get the first down. It's over.
You're giving up those yards anyway. Like you're the way you're going to play defense is, hey, we're going to give up the 5 to 10 yard pass, which means they're going to get right back to where you were in 20, 30 seconds. So
exactly.
It
and this was apparently Redmond said, this is the quote. If I wasn't cramping, everybody in here knows I would have been trying to go for 4th and 3. So yeah, right. I mean, that was the direct quote. So, I mean, I believe Redmond. I didn't see it. I didn't see that, Redmond.
I did not hear it either, but yeah, no, I trust that's
that
accurate.
Makes sense, honestly. If that's what happened, that makes sense.
That's a bad time to be cramping, but yeah, for this game, look, you mentioned Survivor. It's the obvious, largest spread of the week. The way I do my spread, I don't analyze Survivor as, oh, I think this team's going to win, or I'm afraid of this divisional matchup, or that's not how I do it. I just look at a win probability, and obviously the win probability here for the Ravens is the highest on the board. And a lot of people, you want to save the Ravens. Now, if you're in a small pool, 50 people, 70 people, whatever it is, I think you always go for the best team you possibly can. You don't worry about future value as much. You let other people take riskier picks. And hopefully you could get it down to a point where maybe you could hedge a little bit or whatever. That's my goal always, especially in these larger ones, is get me to a point where I can hedge, because that's going to eliminate some of my variance overall. Because you play Survivor pools. I just had this. I just sent a message to someone on YouTube who was asking me a question. They're like, I don't like to play the biggest favorite every week because inevitably they're going to lose. Well, yes, inevitably, if you play, I broke it down. If you play an 80% win probability team, your chances to make it to week 9 are 16.7%. If you had an 80% win, and you will never get an 80% win probability team each and every one of those weeks. So 16.7%, the odds are pretty good. You're not even going to make it to week 9. But if I played a 65% win team each and every week, the probability of me getting to week 9 is like 3.5% or something like that. So yeah, no matter who you take, the odds are really slim. The Survivor Atlas is another good website for Survivor pools. I met the gentleman who started it in Minneapolis when we were there for the live final on PGA, and They have it mapped out where, at least as of right now, what the optimal way would be to get all the way to the final. And before week 1, you had a 0.3% chance to make it all the way to week. If everything obviously stayed the way it was, and it won't, and took the optimal path, you only have a 0.3% chance. So, yes, no matter what way you look at it, you're probably going to lose at some point. That's
you have a low probability no matter which way you slice it.
Exactly.
So I mean, go with what at the end of the day, you got to go with your gut and your play, because it's always easier to losing with like, this was my take. Like, I lost with my take at the end of the day, or someone's take that you trust or something like that, whatever it is. But just go with that play. Your play's the Ravens. You like them. I worry about these divisional games, man, especially a division like this where these are just Cleveland's like a tough team. I know they're not amazing. They got 50-year-old Joe Flacco at quarterback, who's been around since I was like 8 probably. But, they just play this style that I feel like is gritty enough to hang around, even though Baltimore's the way better team. Like, it's not even close to, like, the talent, on one side and the other is a big difference, especially on the offense. But, the Browns defense is legit. And, like, that's a legit defense. They're used to Lamar. They know the Ravens. That's the only thing that gives me any pause. I told you, I think back to, like, they split games in recent years. Now, it was in Cleveland and in Baltimore, so like the home team was winning, I'm pretty sure. But still, I think I take the points from like a betting aspect. I don't think I can do the 11.5. Where would you lean? The 11.5?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you here. It's very rare. I want to lay double-digit points in the NFL. So yeah, from a betting standpoint, I do like the Browns. A quick note on the Survivor. I know Baltimore's got a lot of future value, which is a lot of people are waiting on. If you look at the games where they are at least projected to be a very high favorite, there's a lot of other options in those weeks. So that's why I feel pretty good. Like the gap between the next best team, at least in the numbers this week, is greater than it will be in future weeks. So just keep that in mind. But yes, I agree with you. The 11.5 here, I just don't like to lay it with the favorite in the NFL. And my numbers, this is another one, at least a lot of trends here for me pop up on the Browns. I tend to take a lot more underdogs than favorites on the whole.
Yeah.
That has, since, by the way, just a side note, like since betting has really, sort of been mainstream and legal over the last
Legalized
few years, it used to be like, we used to be, especially early in the season, I used to be able to just print money playing dogs the first 2 or 3 weeks in the season. The markets have gotten a lot better. All right. So they're a lot sharper because we've just got more volume and the markets are just so much more liquid and there's just a lot more information out there. So just kind of blind. It was almost blind betting in week 1, not just betting all the dogs, but betting dogs like teams that didn't make the playoffs against teams that did make the playoffs. It was insane how good that worked. That has not, in the last couple of years, that's gone away. And I think just because of the market on the whole is probably a bit sharper. But yeah, I still don't like to lay. I also don't like to bet against the top quarterbacks, and I don't necessarily like to bet against Lamar here. So my lean would certainly be the Browns plus the 11.5. But I'm gonna stay away from this game. I think the total is tricky for me. I don't have a really good feel for the total. I don't know about you.
I don't either. I don't like the total here. I'm staying away because I could see it being, I could see it going way under, and I could see it going way. I could. So these are spots where I just stay away. You know what I mean? Just if I don't have like a strong feel one way or the other, and I feel like it could drastically go one way or the other, those are normally the spots where I'm like, okay, I'll just leave it. I don't need to bet that one. But let's go to a game that I feel like most people have a similar take on, at least with the total. And I know the total's gone up because it was 48.5 when we did the Print Factory on Wednesday. It's now 49.5 on DK here. It's the Bengals. It's the Jaguars. 3.5 point total, 3.5 point spread. Bengals favored at home. Coming off of a win, but by the skin of their teeth winning that game against the Browns. But now they get the Jaguars, who I don't know how much I can take from the Jaguars-Carolina game. Like, there was the massive delay in the middle of it. It was just very odd. And Carolina put up like very little fight to begin with. So Jacksonville didn't really have to do much, stats. I feel good that I think this game goes over, but the Bengals Jags spread, like, I don't feel as confident in which side gets it done. I think it's a close game, though. I think both these teams are closer to each other than maybe people think. I think some people really like the Bengals, and I'm more in the middle. I'm not like super high on the Bengals, but I'm also not like super low. I'm like right in the middle. And I think the Jaguars fit in right there where I am with the Bengals.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you here. I think this is going to be a tight game. I've got and the total, I don't know. I mean, I think the Bengal defense is pretty good. I don't know what you could garner, like you said, on that Jacksonville game, because it was just so unusual. And I mean, Bryce Young, I don't know, like, at some point here, I think they're going to have to give up on him. And I had some high hopes coming into the year. I thought there was some progression. I don't want to get too excited over week 1, but it's not trending in the right direction. So I don't want to get too excited with Jacksonville, or maybe get too down on a Bengal team that probably should have lost that game last week. But they do struggle against that Cleveland team, so we'll take that one with a grain of salt as well. I've got one, kind of one angle that I look at. That's one of the that has performed well for me, trend angle, whatever you want to say. It's and it's pointing here towards Jacksonville. Looking at kind of fading. It's a fade system, so it fades the home. It fades home favorites early. Not even early in the year. Most of the year after week one. Teams that are coming off a loss and it's hard for me to go through. There's a lot of factors in there, but it's basically a home team favorite fade with a team that has come off a loss on the in game one with their against the spread. So sorry if it's a little confusing, but there's more to it and it'll be complicated. But Jacksonville, it's one of the best trends I had. It's been profitable for me for the last 5 seasons. It has not lost, and it likes Jacksonville here today. So it's hard for me to get off of that Jacksonville.
Good, because I was leaning them with the hook. So
I don't like, again, this is another one. I typically bet against because my numbers in the models do far better than my own personal opinion. People think I'm like clairvoyant. I'm far from it. I'm just as dumb or smart or whatever you want to call it as the next guy.
Numbers, stats. Follow the numbers, man.
So when people ask me about a game, I don't bet on like who's going to win this game. I'm like, I don't even know who's going to win the games I bet. I just know I have a small edge on the game I bet on, which makes it hard for the average sports bettor. They just think, hey, we could roll out 8 games here and hit a nice big parlay. All I'm trying to do is flip the edge to plus 3, 4, 5%. 5% would be fantastic in my favor. In this game, I do have that with the model I have. So I like Jacksonville plus the 3.5. Don't mind getting the hook. Hoping it's a tight game. And it's always fun when the Bengals lose because we've got so many of our guys here, big Bengal fan. I never really cared about the Bengals till I joined RPS, and now, I
never even knew what the Bengals were until I joined RPS and I met Big T. And then I was like, oh my God, you talk about the Bengals nonstop. I can't even do it. I can't wait. I hope that the Jaguars win. I'm betting the Jaguars. I can't wait. Stats is going to own you with his stat, Big T. If you're still listening, he's going to absolutely own you with this stat. And we're going to roll here with Jacksonville. It is funny though. I do have a signed hat of I think it's the 2008 or 9 Cincinnati Bengals. Like all of them signed a Bengals hat for me. I got like Andy Dalton, Ocho, TJ Hushmanzada. I got like the whole squad. One of the safeties went to my gym where I used to work at. So this guy Jeremy Miles back in the day. I don't know if you remember a safety by the name of Jeremy Miles.
No, I don't.
Yeah. He used to go to my gym. Real nice guy. Or not him. His actually was his fiance. So she got the hat for me. But he was a cool dude. I met him. Cool dude. But yeah, love that. All right, let's move to the next game. We're both on the Jaguars. I like the over. Stats not 100% on the total there. Maybe this game though. The Rams and Titans 41.5. 5.5 point spread here. Titans underdogs at home. Stats, I'm a little higher on the Titans, so I do want to get your opinion just because, coming into the year, they had the worst odds to win the division. I think that's how most people saw it. But the way I looked at it was I think their defense is a little better than people give them credit for. I don't love the coaching, but I do think they've got maybe the second biggest quarterback upgrade of any team that's not named the Raiders in football. I thought Geno Smith was the biggest upgrade at quarterback for a team. Cam Ward might be the next, though, just because of who they had. Stats. I'm not saying Cam Ward is amazing. I'm saying that Will Levis and Mason Rudolph were not good. And so that's more what I'm looking at. They are back at home. I think they had maybe the toughest start to a week one going into Denver. Like that is a terrible spot for a rookie quarterback. So my other dilemma though is I like the Rams. I think the Rams and the Packers are the 2 best teams in the NFC. So I need to be swayed one or the other. Big T likes the under in this game. I know that was one of his bets. I think my head's telling me to lean with the points and the Titans. But my heart just says like, stop it. You think the Rams are one of the best teams in football. You need to take the Rams here. So where should I be going?
Yeah, I like, I'm with Big T on this one. I kind of like the under in this game. I had a lot of interest in that Titan game last week because of Survivor. I had Denver in quite a few of my entries, so I was watching that game closely. That game was close not because of Cam Ward. That game was close because of their defense. That defense played really well. I thought the Broncos could not run the ball. And I really think that was more a product of the Titans than it was what we can expect from Denver. I think Knicks will be better. I think that whole offense will be better. I just think the Titan defense is pretty good. And I think they're going to struggle. It's going to take time. Most rookie quarterbacks just don't come out of the chute throwing up a ton of points. I think they will struggle. I agree with you also. I'm kind of happy to hear that your take on the Rams, because I haven't really heard a lot of Rams love. I said last week on this show, I thought the Rams were an improved team. I got yelled at. They're like, oh, improved. They were in the playoffs last year. I'm like, they almost didn't feel like a playoff team last year because they kind of started out really slow. I thought they progressed late in the year to kind of – they didn't feel all season like one of the better teams in the NFC. And I agree with you. I think this year they take a step up. Now, I don't know if they're the second best team, maybe with the Packers or behind the Packers, but I do think they're improved. So I don't mind laying the 5.5. It's not a strong play for me. It's not one that I'm actually going to play. It's a lean. But I do like the under more. I just think the combination of that Tennessee defense and the fact that the Tennessee offense, I think, is going to struggle for a little while, keeps this game under. One angle, you're going to hear this. I haven't personally heard it because I try not to listen to all these idiots on ESPN or all these other shows, but they're always going to give you that West Coast going to the East Coast narrative. That's actually, it just doesn't exist. Like if you look at the betting markets, if you look at teams that went from, I don't know if I said it right, but West Coast going to East Coast for a 1:00 start, there's really no angle there. Like there's no advantage or disadvantage in the, because the line sort of incorporates it. I will tell you the one advantage of time differences is during night games, and it's West Coast teams have an advantage over East Coast teams during primetime games. And that's just because of your, what do they call it? The circadian rhythm and your time clock. By the time the second half, even in second half bets, look to bet against East Coast teams in primetime games on second half of those games. Because as the game, it's just, you're just not, your body's just not awake. And these guys, I know we like to think about these guys partying and everything. I just heard Michael Irvin talking, and he goes, I didn't party during the season. He's like, I didn't go out, like certainly not during game nights. He's like, I did all my partying during the off season. So I these guys are up early. As much as we like to criticize these guys and we think they're, it's nice to be a professional athlete, get paid all those millions, but they do put a lot of work in, and they're up early and they're working their asses off. And I'm sure most of these guys go to bed early. So yeah, that's an angle, but that's for another day. My point is disregard the whole West Coast going to the East Coast thing on 1:00 games. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, I do like what you're saying though about the under, and I think you're right. I think that the Titans with the points, I think if you like the under, it kind of makes sense too. The Rams are down. They're starting 2 guards. I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. I did just see, and someone posted it. Andre just posted it. Thank you, Andre. I was looking for this though. Tavondre Sweat. You were talking about the Broncos struggling to run the football. A big part of Tennessee is the combo of Jeffrey Simmons, or Simons, or however you say his name, and Tavondre Sweat. These 2 big dudes in the middle of that defensive line. Their interior defensive line is like stacked. This is one of the reasons I was high on them defensively, is because when you can stop the run like they can make teams one-dimensional stats, and they can keep games even with their rookie quarterback. They can stay in games and maybe win a few games that they shouldn't really win. Like you saw with Denver, they shouldn't have had a chance in that game, and they did. Like that's just what they're going to give. And I think you'll see it again here. I think they'll probably lose, but they'll have a chance. They'll be in the game. So I would take the 5.5, and I like the under too. But those are big losses. J.C. Latham on the offensive line, Tavondre Sweat defensive line for the Titans. Those are tough losses there for the Titans. But let's go to my favorite game for the week, or the game I'm most excited. The Bears and the Lions, 6-point spread. Bears underdogs going into Detroit. And, total right now, 46.5. I think that came down just a smidge. But you got all these coaches' stats. They know each other really well. Ben Johnson coming back, head coach of the Bears, used to be the offensive coordinator for the Lions. So, of course, all the Lions offensive guys You know they're going to want to stick it to their old coach for leaving. You got like the wide receivers coach and some of these other coaches that used to go for the Lions. They're all going to be pumped up. Dan Campbell, I'm sure, is going to be getting his guys pumped up to go against all these, former coaches. What are we doing with this one? Because this one, it just feels like there's a little something extra.
Oh, definitely. I mean, look, whenever I don't like to get too hyped up on these whole narrative revenge games and all, but when it's the coach, it winds up being the whole team, or in this case, maybe half the squad. And yeah, there's always going to be a little
they rally extra around them spread.
Of course.
Stats. They rally around these guys.
Absolutely.
They got to.
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we got to see what they're doing. Oh, that's not nice.
That's not nice right there. I mean, come on.
I thought, look, I watched that game. I mean, Williams takes a lot of crap. I still, we've got to see a little bit more. I thought he did some really good things there in the first half, and then the accuracy is what you worry about. I think the arm is there. You just worried about the accuracy throwing the ball. Now coming into the season, I think a lot of people were, I don't want to say down on Detroit in the sense that people don't think as high as everyone was on Detroit the last couple of seasons. I think people are starting to look for Detroit to take a step back, and then they didn't disappoint those people last week against what, like, you think, and I sort of agree with you here, is maybe the best team in the NFC in Green Bay. I think they'll have obviously a little bit different type of a matchup here. I don't love the game for the sides. I would lean towards Detroit here. I'd lay the points. And as far as honestly, I don't have a strong opinion on the total either. I don't know if you have a really strong. It's just not a game. I would lean, like I said, on Detroit. If you kind of force me to make a pick here on the total, I think I would take the game to go over. But I don't love it. I don't know about you.
I don't love it. I want to say over. I really do. I want to say it, but the familiarity with all these coaches could go either way, right? It could go either way from that standpoint. So, yeah, I probably will bet the over, but it's not a bet that I feel overly confident in. You know what I mean? Like I think that some bets, like the next game, we'll talk about the total. I felt very confident in that total. But this game, if you make me pick, I'm going to say over. What would you say if I made you take a side?
No, that's my lean would be to the over as well. But
to the over,
yeah. I just don't have any conviction in this game. I've got nothing in the models that are triggering one way or the other.
Yeah,
I do think
I'm going Bears in the over. If I'm taking a side here, I'm going Bears in the over. So,
well, you saw, on the you were happy that Caleb Williams was up on the boom sheet. So
yes, no, so one of my stances for fantasy and for best ball and all this stuff, I had two major stances at quarterback. It was Justin Fields and it was Caleb Williams, and it had nothing to do with me being like ultra high on the Jets or ultra high on the Bears from like a finishing standpoint, from like the standings, right? It had more to do with like, I just thought from a fantasy perspective, they would be productive quarterbacks. Justin Fields, like the weapons, like who he throws to, there's very like minimal guys. So it made it easy to stack in best ball because you kind of know who they were, and he uses his legs. And now Caleb, if Caleb uses his legs like he did in week 1 stats, he's going to smash some of these weeks in fantasy if he's doing that. I didn't even think that. You know what I mean? So if we get that from Caleb, like a consistent, 5-6 carries rushing, that's huge. You know what I mean? That's an extra, it's an extra 3, 4, 5 fantasy points you can tack on weekly if he starts doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, if you're going to look for low owned quarterbacks and not necessarily stacks with these guys, always find the rushing quarterback, because those guys they may have a terrible game and their team may have a terrible game, but from a fantasy standpoint, they could find the end zone 2 times, run for 50 yards, and maybe just throw one, and you've got a pretty good performance and usually a cheaper price. So if I'm going to make mistakes, I want to make it with these guys with the potential to run the ball. I do it in season long. Also, I always go back to the previous year, look at guys who weren't necessarily good in fantasy who potentially can give me some good upside and draft, late in my season long leagues. And I'm looking at that ratio of like how many, what's their run to pass points, point total. So I do that in the DFS as well. I think if you're going to make a mistake, finding the pocket passer who no one is projecting to do all that well is probably, those guys probably won't do well, but you can accidentally do well as a running quarterback when things break down and you're just running for your life all day against a good team. And then, who knows, like I said, you get yourself a touchdown, throw one, and you got a pretty good performance. So yeah, I don't mind playing these guys at all, especially early in the year where I think they just don't get enough reps, none of these teams, with the number one teams out there. And I think the running quarterbacks do have an advantage. I mentioned that on the show last week, which was part of the reason I liked the Daniel Jones and I liked a Fields, because I think those quarterbacks do have an advantage. They're not solely going to be locked in on how they perform with a particular receiver and having that whole connection with those guys. They can do it a lot on their own. Lamar was of course the extreme of those examples, and in Josh Allen too.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. All right, let's go to the next game here, which I like. San Francisco and New Orleans, 3-point spread. New Orleans underdogs at home against San Francisco, who's down their starting quarterback, their top or second best offensive weapon, and their top tight end in George Kittle. Brock Purdy, obviously, out. Mac Jones in stats. This under, it's trending even lower. It's 40.5 now. When we did the show on Wednesday, it was 42.5, but the news came out like 30 minutes into the show. So the line went from 42.5 to 40.5, like instantly on the show. I loved the under. I didn't know that. I already thought it was pretty certain that Brock Purdy was going to miss, or at least I felt confident he was going to miss. So I love the under at 42.5, and I still like the under at 40.5. I think this game is going to be ugly. I think this game is going to go under. The Saints offense, I don't really trust. And the San Francisco team, I was lower on to begin with. We talked about the Rams. I thought one of the best divisional bets of the year was the Rams plus 200 to win the division. I thought that was an insane number. I didn't understand why San Francisco was such a big favorite over them to begin with. I didn't understand why they had better odds to win, the conference and the Super Bowl. It just made no sense to me. So I was very low coming in the year on the 49ers. And even with all their players, like, they didn't like crazy impress me. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're down guys now, so that changes things. But I think this under is the play at 40.5. I'm still rolling with it. I like the under. What about you?
I think it's gotten to the point at 40.5 where I just can't get on board with the under. I'm not going to take it over either. I would lean to the under. I would agree with you, but I just can't bet it at 40.5. The number for me is a little bit too low. I love games where quarterbacks, I like quarterback injured games, because I think you really, if you have good numbers, and you don't need to, matter of fact, it's real difficult to do this in any sort of formulaic way. What everyone should do if you're betting the NFL is go through prior to the season. And I'm saying this as I did not necessarily do this for every team myself, but figure out who the backup quarterback is, and then figure out what you think that starting quarterback is worth over the backup quarterback. A lot of times, and more often than not, it works in favor of the team that lost their quarterback, that it's overvalued. Like the value of that starting quarterback is overvalued. I always go back to the one with I believe when Jordan Love was it last year when he was injured. They had like Malik Willis, I think was
Malik Willis, yeah,
and did well, right? So sometimes it's the team. It takes a while. You go back to Green Bay where it happened the opposite way, where Rodgers was out a few years ago with Green Bay, and they just never priced it accordingly. He was like they docked it. basically took 5 points off the line. It wound up being closer to like I think 8.5, if I'm remembering right, where it finally settled in. Like that's actually the number. So if we're saying this is maybe a 2-point spread, typically I would actually I like to lean on the backup quarterbacks just because the market tends to overdo it with this. Now in this particular situation, I'm not as confident because there's so many moving parts. This team changed a bit just coming into the season. Now you're one weekend, you've got CMC. Who knows how hurt he is? If he's nagging, I don't think he's really all that banged up. As far as last week, he looked fine. He actually didn't look that great. The points wise, he did fine, but he didn't exactly impress from an efficiency standpoint. So I worry about that from him. I'm worried about this entire offense, to be candid, and I don't really have all that much confidence in the Saints. So typically I would be all over the 49ers here. I'm going to stay away from this one. I want to take a look and see, but I could see I could see people kind of taking the Saints with the anticipation that Mac Jones is just a terrible quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think Mac Jones is like terrible. I think he can function in an off. We saw him function in an offense last year. Move the football. I mean, I'm not saying he was amazing, but he can still make throws. I mean, he was a highly drafted quarterback. Like he can still play. He's got years under his belt. He's got games under his belt. I don't know about that. I just think you got two bad teams. I guess though, two bad teams could go either way, right? With the two bad teams narrative, but CMC is the catalyst of the San Francisco offense, and I just don't know if that's gonna giving him the ball 30 times is fine to like squeak out wins, but I don't know if that's gonna give you massive, big, total outcomes. You know what I mean? Because he's a dink and dunk guy. That's what he is now. Stats. I don't know if the full burst is going to be there, but he's still amazing at football. So this is where people get it twisted when everyone's like, oh, CMC looks a little different, or it feels like he's lost a step. He's still an amazing football player. That's not saying he's bad he's an amazing football player. I just think he might have lost a little bit of his burst. You know what I mean? That play when he caught the pass and the defensive lineman kind of gave him a shove, and he started to move like way faster than you saw him move like all game. And you're like, oh, that's like when I get in Mario Kart, when you get the thing that gives you that burst real quick. Like that's what I thought of when I saw that play. I was like, dude's playing Mario Kart. He just got that quick little egg burst or whatever it was and sped up. But you don't see him like moving like that the whole game. And so that's what I worry about. I worry about they can't run the football, and then it's just dink and dunk offense. Maybe fine for them to win. I don't think it's going to be fine for this game to go over, though, is my take on it. So, all right, we're split on. Well, you don't like the total. I like the under.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Seahawks game here. Seahawks in Pittsburgh. ODB, who did the show, one of his favorite plays on the slate is Pittsburgh. Seattle coming off of a tough loss against San Francisco. Pittsburgh coming off of an emotional game against the Jets, I guess, from Aaron Rodgers' standpoint. Now DK Metcalf gets his old team. He talked me into Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's going to have a better chance of their defense in front seven getting to the quarterback in this matchup, which they struggled to do against Justin Fields. But Sam Darnold is not Justin Fields. He does not have that mobility. And when he gets pressure stats, he's a deer in headlights. And like right when he said that, I was like, he's right. Like they're going to get pressure on Sam Darnold. And when he gets pressured, he can't just run out of it. He can't escape.
No, that is definitely true. It's a totally different matchup than they had last week. Sam Darnold here. I was not high on Seattle coming into the season. This to me, this is an amazing game here when you're looking at. We talked about that Jet game against Buffalo, and I thought that the total looked a little low. How about this at 39.5 with a team in Pittsburgh that came off of that game against the Jets with all those points, and now they're going to throw 39.5 over here. I mean, I don't know what to make of that other than that looks a little too low for me. So I just think this game has to go over. If they're saying 39.5, they're saying that game was an anomaly. And I think that's what they said with the line is saying in that Buffalo Jets game as well. I think they're saying disregard last week because this Pitt defense is a lot better than they showed, and the Pitt offense is not going to necessarily put up the kind of points that they did last week. So I do think this is going to be a little bit more of a grinded out type of a game, and the most unpopular of picks will be for me. I'm going against all of you guys, and I'm taking
no, you're
Seattle.
going Seattle.
I am taking Seattle. The chat will hate it.
Oh.
And I'm more than, you could come back and laugh at me next week, but I will take Seattle plus the point. I think this is going to be a very tight game. I think it's a grinded out type of game. I think it stays in the teens. And I think, Pittsburgh, maybe they win the game, but I think, and I love Pitt. Look, everyone knows I'm the biggest Mike Tomlin fan in the world. So I do give them the advantage there. I think, Rodgers obviously had a great game last week, but I don't think Rodgers has not been Rodgers. You hated me for taking the under with the Jets a couple of years ago, and then Rodgers wound up getting hurt. And
that's true. That's true. I did hate on you for that. Yeah,
and I didn't like.
Stats is pulling receipts now. That the one time I hated, literally the one time I hated on him too was the Jets. Was the Jets last year?
You did well, and it was just because Rodgers couldn't take a playoff team to the playoffs with Green Bay. And I'm like, well, why is he just going to suddenly do that with the Jets? I do think it's a little different in Pittsburgh because I think that organization is as good an organization. And I think the head coach is as good a head coach. And they went to the playoffs last year with nothing. So I do think it's a little bit different scenario, but I think it's going to be a grind them out type of game. Give me the points at Seattle. My favorite play of the week. No, it's enough of a play that I will be having some action on it though.
All right, fair enough. I can't wait, though, to go back at you in this game. Since you brought up the Jets thing, I'm coming back at you with the Miami Dolphins against the Patriots here. The Dolphins at home, 1.5 point spread, 43.5 total in this game. And I heard last week a lot of people on this show, and I wasn't on this show, very high. I can't remember if it was you. I thought it was everyone, but very high on the Dolphins. You guys were a little confused, thought they were undervalued in the market. I talked about this on a few different shows. This is a dysfunctional team coming into the year when your best player and your quarterback are already not getting along, when your best 2 wide receivers are missing some of training camp because they're quote unquote banged up or whatever, and Tua's throwing to all the 3s and 4s and 5s. You're losing chemistry, timing, which the offense is all about timing, right? I keep spread. Yes. The offense is literally all about timing here. So that practice time is huge for a team like this.
Yeah, I think it's really well put because I've never really been a Tua fan. I think he was a product of this offense. And yeah, I did not value enough the dysfunction that is the Miami team, and
that coach might be gone soon, like very soon.
Yeah, everyone loves you when you're quirky and winning, but everyone hates you when you're quirky and losing. So, yeah, I think you may be right. He's lost. I think he's just does not have control of that locker room.
So you're saying when we both lose this week, everyone's gonna hate us because we're quirky and weird, and if we win, everyone's gonna love us?
Dude, there's nothing quirky nor weird about me. I don't know. Maybe you, but there's nothing.
All right, fine. I'll take it. I'm the quirky weird one. You're the normal sports bettor, and I'm the quirky weird one.
Dude, I'm the guy who walks into the bar like they're like, who is this cool mother effer walking in here right now?
And I'm the guy just hiding in his man cave, like like my wife says, bye, honey. I just walk down in my man cave, Don't even leave. Like, see you later. See you tomorrow. But
I do. I'm flipping here. I mean, I like the Patriots. I like the Pats. I like the Pats in this game. We're getting the 1.5. I would have liked them regardless, just because of how the numbers play out here for me. But I'll take the added bonus of this may be a team in total turmoil, and we're going to get points with the Pats here. I'll take the Patriots plus the points. The total is another tricky total for me. I mean, you just saw how dysfunctional that offense was. 43.5, maybe it might be tough for them to get to if this offense is going to keep performing the way it did last week.
And the Patriots offense didn't perform very well either. So that's another thing. I kind of agree with you. If you made me pick, I'd go under, and I like the Patriots too, for sure. And who knows? Maybe the Raiders are just very underrated, which could be the case for the Raiders, who the Patriots faced last time out. Maybe they're a little underrated from what we thought coming into the year, but we'll get to them. And yeah, we'll do like a quick little recap of our favorite picks at the end, Vincent. Let's get to the Panthers and the Cardinals. Speed this one along a little bit. 6.5 point spread here, 44.5 total. Stats, you like anything in this one?
Oh man, you went quick there. What do we got? The Raider game. I got to look up.
I'm sorry, the the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals. Sorry.
Oh, the Cardinal game. The Cardinal game.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I do. So, as much as I disliked how Bryce Young looked, I am going to take the Panthers here plus the 6.5. I wasn't particularly impressed with Arizona either last week against what I think is a pretty weak New Orleans team. Watched that game a lot as well with survivor implications for me. I just think it's this is too many points. I still think the Panthers are better than the Saints. I think they'll be able to keep this game relatively close. I do like that wide receiver. I'm hoping that Bryce Young can turn into something a little bit better than what we've seen, because I think he's a special talent.
He went to Arizona too, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, ASU. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And watching him last year, I don't get it to watch a ton of those games, but I had a few. If I have bets on him, I'm going to watch it. And I got to watch a few of his games. I think he's really. I thought he was the best wide receiver I saw last year.
Horrible quarterback play, too, right? From what I didn't watch a ton of their games, but I saw like one or two, and the quarterback play was terrible.
Yeah,
that he had to deal with.
Awful. So yeah, he's going into the NFL with maybe not such great quarterback play either, but I think he's a special talent. I just think it's too many points for an Arizona team that I'm just not impressed with at all. I'll take the 6.5 points here with Carolina.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you where, like, I don't love this game in general. Like, both teams were bad, so I don't know how much I want to pull from it because of the Carolina situation with the delay. But Bryce Young was bad, and the Cardinals were bad. Like, but honestly though, they were also not really pushed in that game, and it might have just been a spot where they got up and then they were just like, coasting. It's the Saints. The Saints got nothing. And their defense was solid, in my opinion. I thought their defense played decent. But overall, not impressive. So I'm trying not to overreact to those spots where I'm like, they're playing the Saints. Are they really getting up for Spencer Rattler and, company? I don't know, stats. I don't know about that, but I'm going to hold out judgment on both these teams for another week or two. I want to see them play another couple weeks. So I don't like this game. If you made me pick on the total, I'd go under. But yeah, not a game I'm interested in. This next game though, I am interested in. The Denver Broncos, the Indianapolis Colts. The line moved. I think it was 2.5. It's 1.5 now on DK Sportsbook. Broncos favored on the road against, I think also another team that surprised the crap out of people, especially Daniel Jones and the offense. Looked really good. But the Broncos defense is a totally different animal. And I know they're away from home. They're not at home, but this is going to be a much tougher task from dysfunctional Miami Dolphins and their defense to this Denver defense, which is just really tough. And they just got so many good players here. I like the under in this one, and I like the Broncos. I'm going with the Broncos in the under. What do you like?
This is going to be a lean for me, but I'm going to lean on the same side as you with this one as well. I think we'll see a different Bronco team than last week. They had a real hard time running the ball. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the problem here this week. And if they run the ball the way I think they're capable of, we should see a better performance, at least from Bo Nix. So, I was super impressed with Bo Nix last year. I didn't come into the season really all that high on him. I think he certainly changed my mind, and I think a lot of people. I'm going to give him a pass on that week because again, I just think that was more of a product of the run game, and they just could not move the ball. We talked about that Tennessee team. I think that defense is probably a bit underrated because no one's really looking at that team all that closely. It's going to be a different scenario here. I don't necessarily like the under percent. I could go either way, but my lean here is definitely Denver. I could see this game going either way on the total. I could give you the pros on both sides, but it's not going to be a bet either way for me. But if in like office pools, I'm going to be picking Denver this week.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm more on the Denver side too, because you're right. It could be either way, but I'll lean the under, but definitely like Denver with you. And I do think they will have a easier time running the football. Maybe Sean Payton, though. Maybe we cut out the Tyler Beatty crap and we just play RJ Harvey. How about that? Like, that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea, Stats. Well, what do you think?
I think you're 100% right, except for the fact that I've got Dobbins in one of my leagues, so I'm hoping that doesn't. But Harvey,
fine, play RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, and don't play any Beatty or whatever.
Like, Harvey was the guy. Yeah, he was definitely the. They didn't run the. They had outside of, I believe it was Harvey, had one kind of pop.
He had one big run in the inside.
Other than that, their points total wound up not being bad because I think Dobbins found his way into the end zone. So if you just looked at it from a fantasy standpoint, you're like, oh, okay, they had a decent game, but they could not move the ball at all. So I do expect that to be a little bit different here this week.
It also, to me, Bo Nix looked. He looked very indecisive. He would start to like run in the pocket, and then he would all of a sudden see someone like cross his face, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to throw instead of run." And I'm like you're starting to run like through the pocket, and then all of a sudden you pull that ball back and you just whip it at a dude's feet who's crossing your face. It's like commit, like either keep your eyes downfield and just step into the pocket. It just looked like he was like sped up for some reason. It looked like he was trying to do too much and make things happen like constantly instead of just like taking what's there. If there's a massive gap and you're Bo Nix, just run right through it. Like you don't see anyone, your first couple reads are not that, like just run, and get 5 yards, go down, go to the next play, or step up in the pocket. But it just felt to me like he was trying to decide between the two as he was going. Like he would just like decide to all of a sudden throw after he'd start running in the pocket.
I think he's a kid with a lot of confidence. He almost reminds me a little bit of a Brett Favre, where Favre would just do stupid things because he was so confident. I'm not saying his ability is the same as a Brett Favre, but I think the mentality sometimes where, Favre's like, didn't really care about the play call, whatever it was. Like, I'm going to just fit this in there and try to make something happen. I think with a young quarterback in a game, I think there was frustration there where, you're not moving the ball. You want to make a play happen. We can't run it. And I think that's part. I think he's a kid with just a ton of confidence, maybe a little bit of arrogance, and certainly to play that position, those aren't necessarily bad things. And I think that kind of played into it last week.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, next game here, one of the bigger games of the entire week: the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl rematch in Kansas City. It's a 1.5 point spread, Stats, and it's a 46.5 total. And I got to get your opinion here because this, to me, looks on paper like the easiest spot for me to fall into a trap door and never come out of my life. Because why am I not just unloading my account on the Eagles here? It's the line is, it looks to me insane. I know it's in Kansas City, but Kansas City's, no Rice, probably no Worthy. Their weapons are Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce, who doesn't give a shit about the regular season, in my opinion, and was setting screens all night last game, and then Hollywood Brown. Like, am I wrong, or do you think it's like a trap of all traps?
I mean, it's very rare you see Mahomes, and at home too. I don't know if he's ever been a dog at home. I'd have to go back and look. I can't think of a game where he was getting points at home. It's it's happened before, like very, very rarely. It was like a Brady, a dog. I do remember like a Brady dog at home won the game. I'd have to go back and look at what game that was. I typically don't like betting against Mahomes, but that's in normal matchups against maybe your average quarterback. So one of the things when you bet, the premier, there's not as many of them now as there were in the past, but there's certain quarterbacks I don't like to bet against. Now, last year with the Chiefs, betting against Mahomes was perfectly fine. And you're starting to get the feel that that may be the case here again. I'm just going to have a tough, like, to me, I'm going to pass on the game, but I have a hard time not taking points with Patrick Mahomes, no matter how decimated that team may be against the defending Super Bowl champions. Boy, it's hard to pass up on the Chiefs getting points at home with Patrick Mahomes. So I just don't I don't necessarily like the play for a big bet, but yeah, it when you were saying that, I thought you were saying like, boy, I can't pass up on points with Mahomes at home, like they're trying to suck you in. I almost look at it. I get it. I think Philly's probably a better team here, but I don't know if the Chiefs are going to lose. I hate, someone's going to say, the Chiefs. Maybe people don't. Maybe people just aren't believers in the Chiefs. I hate the old. Are they really going to go 0-2? Well, yeah. Once you go 0-1, then you've got a shot to go 0-2. So I never buy into those whole things, like with like Baltimore. Oh, they got to win this week because they won't go 0-2.
Especially with the team like that. Like they got a vet coach, they got a vet quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like if they went 0-2, they would go 0-2. They're playing the Super Bowl champs. They could easily go 0-2 here. So
look, easily lose this game. I don't love it, like I said, but I don't know. I have a hard time betting against the Chiefs here. Do we feel differently? I don't know. I mean, do we feel differently if Dallas holds on to those balls, Lamb holds on, and they win the? I don't know.
I think the Jalen Carter thing threw everything off, and I know that we don't put that much stock into most defensive players, right? Stats. I think there's maybe a handful of guys that we would put stock into. I think Jalen Carter is one of them. That's just me personally. I think he's one of them. I think Micah Parsons, which we saw last night, he's also one of them. Maybe TJ Watt, Myles Garrett. Those are just like a handful. There's not many, but there's a few where when you lose them, and you heard Dak after the game, he literally told us, he said, we changed our entire game plan. We were planning on double teaming him all the time. Like they changed their entire game plan when he got thrown out, which Dak couldn't believe, by the way, he got thrown out. And that tells me he means something. Like when an offense is telling you they changed their entire game plan right before the game started because one guy got tossed, that guy means something.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the show, that's what we talked about. It's like, obviously, you got to get the quarterback, but you got to be able to protect the quarterback, got to be able to pass rush. And when you could do it without scheming and you could do it with just your front, that's huge. And when you have a player like that who requires multiple players to block, that changes the entire
interior pressure when you have non-mobile quarterbacks means even more. Because when you have a mobile quarterback, you can do things to get him out on the move more. It's probably worked into the offense. But non-mobile quarterbacks, they're trying to step up in the pocket, right? So like guys like Brady probably hated a guy like Jalen Carter because like he'd always try to step up and slide in the pocket, right? And it was he was really good at it. But if you got pressure through the middle, that throws everything off because Brady does not want to move
There's no pocket passer wants pressure in their face. I mean, that's bottom line. So 100% right.
Ask Caleb Williams about that. He got some pressure in his face on what was it, Monday Night Football, I think it was. Man, they were coming at him in the second half. But all right, we're split on the Eagles and Chiefs here. Let's go to the Falcons and the Vikings here. Sunday Night Football, Vikings 3.5-point favorites. It's a 44.5 total. And the Falcons coming off of a game against Tampa that, they were had some unfortunate things not go their way, I guess. Drake London got a little banged up. But the thing to me that stood out, Stats, was two things. They couldn't run the football. That's a big issue for Atlanta because if they can't run the football, they're in big trouble. And McGarry, the tackle who got hurt in the I think it was like the very end of camp or right before the season, massive loss. He was on the right side. Penix is, a lefty. So it means an even bigger deal, I think, for someone like him. So I think that played a little bit with the run game, a little bit with Penix. I think that loss is going to be huge throughout the year. And I think against Minnesota, I think they're going to struggle again to run the football. Minnesota's got a good defense, and they can get pressure on you. They're gonna give you pressure, and Penix is gonna have to stand in there and hold that football and make throws. And I think he's gonna struggle. I think he's gonna have turnovers. I think the Vikings are gonna be able to run on the Falcons. And if they can do those two things, I think they win this game easily. So I'm on the Vikings side.
I agree with you in the analysis, and maybe my bet would be a little bit different. I actually think this game stays under. I think it winds up being a low scoring game. I don't have a ton of confidence in McCarthy either here for the Vikings. So I think this game, to me, the game is going to be low scoring. I think it's grinded out type of game. I'd actually lean again. I like getting the hook here in a game that I think is going to be low scoring. So I would take the Falcons and this game to the under. I think your points are valid. I think they will.
I like it. I like the under.
Yeah,
I don't think that Atlanta's going to move the football. I think they're going to really struggle.
I think both teams struggle. I thought, look, that Atlanta Tampa game wasn't exactly the high scoring game that we thought it may be. And you saw Minnesota struggle there, especially in the first half of their game last week. So I'm not 100% sold on either one of these offenses yet. I think the 44.5, they kind of put that number right about in the average score of just slightly under what the average scores are typical in the NFL. I think this game stays under, and because of that, I'll just take the points here plus the 3.5 in what I think will be a relatively close game.
Yeah, I think the Bears defense is got to be a little better than the Falcons, and I think they're a little tougher. Like Dennis Allen, defensive court, I think that's a tougher task than the Atlanta Falcons and what they're going to bring to the table against the Vikings. That's more where I'm at. Like I guess I'm a little higher on the Bears as a whole from a defensive side, and Falcons I'm not as high on. So I think it's going to be a little easier for them to get things going sooner. And I think Kevin O'Connell also is going to do a better job of getting JJ going early. He took ownership when they were asking him before the second half. They said, "What can JJ do better?" And he said, "Honestly, I need to do a better job of putting him in spots to succeed." That like he took it, and I think that's one of the reasons why in the second half you saw a better JJ McCarthy. I think they called a better game for him, and he took ownership of that, which to me is huge. He's not putting it on the quarterback. He's taking it on himself. I honestly don't see many coaches come out at halftime and take ownership like that, which I thought was pretty cool of him to do. Whether it was true or not, I thought it was pretty cool for him to say, like, no, I need to do a better job of putting him in the spots. I love that. I love that coach. He looks exactly like AP too. Every time I see his face, I can't not see AP. But Ron, Hollywood automatic starter. If Xavier Worthy's out, I don't know how you don't play Hollywood. He gets peppered. Like he got peppered with target. I don't like him in this matchup, but they don't have anyone else.
Top wide receiver on the Boom Report this week.
Oh, there you go.
As the price is factored in there, but yes.
Oh, I mean, still, that means starter, I would say. All right, let's go to, we got 2 Monday Night Football game stats. We'll get these done pretty quickly here. But Tampa and Houston, the early game, this does lock at 7 p.m., by the way, Eastern time. So make sure to note it's not your normal 8:15, 8:20 game. Starts at 7. Texans at home after a tough loss to the Rams. Tampa getting that win over Atlanta. Still the worst line loss for Tampa for the next couple games. That's big. That's a huge loss for them. They struggled to run the football. I think Baker's going to have to do a little bit more because this Houston Texans defense is a good unit. It's a tough unit. My worry with Houston stats is their offensive line. I feel good about their defense. The offensive line is what I worry about here, but I do lean Houston. It's not a bet I love, but if you make me pick, I'm taking the Houston side. I think a lot of people are high on Tampa, though. How high are you on Tampa?
Yeah, I don't want to say it's my favorite game. I do lean, though, towards Tampa plus the 2.5, and I don't think it's going to get to the 3. kind of holding out for that. I will bet it. Definitely going to bet it if it gets to the 3. And for those of you saying, well, you could just buy it to the 3, there's cost to buying it to the, like, I'd prefer the market to move. It's about 17 and a half cents. I should know this easily, but to move from 2.5 to 3. But we'll get into that on another day. But I think I think the total is interesting. I think this game could another under with a low total, and you wouldn't really. You look at Tampa Bay and Houston, you're like 42 and a half. Like, you kind of think about the offenses when you think about these teams coming into the year, and I just got a feeling on the under with this game. So it's not a strong play for me. I'm going to be betting. Most likely, I'm going to be betting Tampa Bay. We'll see as this gets closer. But man, I just have a feeling that both of these defenses are better than we think, and that under 42 and a half may be the play.
Yeah, I could see the under. I think that's the way I would lean too with the total is the under. So I don't mind that take there, and we'll see. Like I said, doubleheader on Monday. Last game though, Chargers and Raiders. I think this was 3. It's now moved to 3.5. If I recall, I know Big T loved the Chargers. It's a 46.5 total. I said this before, but like, the Raiders, massive upgrade with Geno Smith. We saw it last time out, first game. I think it's only going to get better. I do worry about their offensive line too. It did seem kind of shaky, their offensive line, but man, they got some weapons, and it looks much better with Geno Smith at the helm stats.
Yeah, we said it on the show last week that we thought the that move with Geno going to and the coach. So now you get the coach and you get and the quarterback. I thought they made probably the biggest improvement at that position at both of those spots for any other team in the league. So I agree with you there, and that's why we liked the Raiders last week in their matchup with New England. When I'm worried, I don't have any real numbers here guiding me towards either side of this game. I think my heart is telling me the Chargers, but I think a lot of people are going to be on that because of how impressive I thought the Chargers were. So that scares me a little bit. Now I got to lay 3.5 on the road Monday night. There was the old I don't buy into the whole, there was a thing when I first started betting Raiders home dogs Monday night, like was home dogs on Monday night and Raiders on Monday night. Now you get them both. It's not really a thing anymore, but it used to be.
Raiders always used to play on Monday night early.
Yeah, always Monday night games. They were always a big national team, and everyone liked to bet Raiders on Monday night. And home dogs on Monday night used to be a big one. But I just think this, I feel like the sucker side is the Chargers, and I kind of want to get on board with the suckers because I think this Chargers team is really good. I love the coach. I love the quarterback. And now they showed that they've got, I still think they're going to go back to that kind of pounded out type of a team. I don't think they drafted the running back that they did to just fling the ball around the field. When they get the lead, I think they're going to be able to take the air out of the ball against teams that don't have Patrick Mahomes on them. So I still lean here towards the Chargers. And the tricky part with the total here is which Charger team. Now that they showed us what they can do by throwing the ball against what we assumed was going to be a pretty good Chiefs defense. If they come out and take the air out of it, you got to like the under. If they're going to fling it around the field, then you like the over. So I'm gonna be a little cautious with the total, and my heart's kind of telling me the Chargers take this one.
Yeah, I like the Chargers too. And who knows with the Chargers? It might be game by game where they kind of change it up. Like, I think against the Chiefs, I love the aggressive pass heavy style against the Chiefs. And they've been, over the years, they've been really good against the run recently. So I think it even makes more sense. So maybe that was the game plan. Maybe they just wanted to be ultimately the opposite of their style coming in to throw the Chiefs off what they thought the game plan would be early and kind of catch them off guard. I don't know. But I know one thing, like Justin Herbert, when he's healthy, is very, very good. One thing, though, like he has played a lot of his NFL career banged up because he's one of those dudes. He's like a Matthew Stafford type where he's tough as nails, and an injury that would put a quarterback out for 4 or 5 weeks, he just plays through. He's like, no, it's fine. My ankle's broken. I'll figure out a way. Tape it up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, my shoulder dislocated. Pop it back in there and let me start throwing. Like, that's the type of guy Justin Herbert is. So I think it might skew some of how they call plays when he gets banged up because he's not as mobile, right? When he's healthy, he's mobile. That's huge. That's a big weapon when the quarterback's mobile like that on top of the running game. And the fact that he can make all the throws. So I got to lean the Chargers right now. They looked amazing. I do think the Raiders look really good. I just think there might be a gap when it comes to skill position guys, and their D-line against the Raiders O-line, I think, is a big mismatch. I think full advantage the Chargers. So I'm with you. I lean the Chargers as well. That's every game on the slate. Stats. Do you want to run through maybe your favorite like 3 or 4 plays just for the people, since we talked about every game?
Yeah. Let me go back and let me look at it quick. So I'd say favorite play, and I hate saying it, but the Giants are going to be up there as one of my favorite plays.
Oh,
I know. It's just because
are you going to go Seattle? Is it Giants in Seattle just to make people really nauseous?
I could definitely get you sick and throw shit. I'll give you the Browns here plus the 11.5 as a wacky. Yeah, I'm going to throw that one in there as well as 2 of my favorites. It's hard, man. The NFL is getting trickier and trickier, but I've got 2 of my favorite kind of favorite trends on those games, so I'll stick with those.
What about Jacksonville? That was a game you were pretty trendy on.
Jacksonville is up there as well. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's put Jacksonville. I'm in the we've got the 5. Yeah, we got like a little 5 out of 5 pool going, and I definitely have Jacksonville in there. I don't know if I use Cleveland. I got to go back and look, and I definitely use the Giants. So yeah, Jacksonville for sure is one of my
Jacksonville. We got New England, the Broncos. You like the Panthers?
Like the Jets?
Jets. Yeah, I like the Jets too. All right. Here we go. Here's 4 plays right here. All right. 6.5 for the Jets, Giants plus 4.5, Cleveland Browns plus 11.5, and Jacksonville plus the 3.5. Grab that little hook. It's always nice over on DK Sportsbook. So that's fun. Little parlay plays just over 13-1. That plays. I'm with it. I can get with those plays there. So I like that. Anything else, Stats? You wanna hit?
No, I mean, I think that's about it. I think, look, we got a lot going on this weekend. If tune in later, I will not be on the show, but the MLB show, and get your DFS fix in here with RPS. We got plenty going on. We got the MLB, you got MMA, we've got a lot, even NASCAR going on still. So check us out.
Yeah, MLB show 5:00. Today, we got the college football show. Should be on in a few minutes, actually, college football. So if you want to check out the college football, the boys will be on. Big T, Bruce, Rubio will be on in a few on this channel. Baseball's at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then, like Stat said, MMA show tomorrow, 11 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. Eastern time. Card, I think, locks at 3. So a little earlier than normal start time for that. And then, of course, the Millie Roundtable show at 9 with Felix and Rubio. And then the Wood show tomorrow, 10 a.m. or Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then we have the Up to Lock show. Stats will be on that. I'll jump on that later with DC. We'll answer your questions, give you guys the late breaking news, anything breakdown for all the members at Run Pure Sports. So if you want to check that show out, sign up. Run Pure Premium gets you all the sports. If you just want the single sport NFL package, we have you there as well. Stats, I think fun doing the show with you, man. Awesome running through the games. It was a good time. We'll have to do it again. We'll have to get the crew back on though.
Let's see. Let's see how good the picks are. If they're good, we'll run it back. If we fall on our face, then we might have to find 2 new people.
Yeah, Stats like if we fall on our face, you're out. Okay, this is your audition, JSU. If we fall on our face, it's your problem, and you're out, and someone else is coming in. Big T, I might need a reliever next week, Big T. I might need to call in the big guns if JSU doesn't get it done. But,
Exactly.
all right, everybody, good luck in your DraftKings betting in DFS this weekend. Like Stat said, come check us out at runpuresports.com for all your DFS, your betting needs. We got you guys covered. Come hang out with us, talk some ball in the Discord. For Stats, I'm JSU. We'll see you guys later on this week. Until then, we're out of here. Peace.